Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I want to do a book review on Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. This is a nonfiction book following Bryan Stevenson's early career as a lawyer. He still works as a lawyer and he has started this organization called the Equal Justice Initiative where he works to try to get people off of death row who have been wrongly convicted. There's this one overarching story that you are following. It's the case of Walter McMillan, who was wrongly convicted and put on death row for the murder of a young woman in Alabama. And you are following Bryan Stevenson as he investigates the case, talks to the so-called witnesses of the original case, and he works to try to get this man off of death row. I really love this book, but I kind of went into it knowing I was going to love this book because I love books that talk about either the justice system or the prison system, and Bryan Stevenson is just such a charismatic writer. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like he really draws you into the cases that he's talking about and the stories of the lives that he's interacting with and experiencing himself. Reading books like this can be really difficult because, especially if you live in the United States, obviously, you are seeing very, very clearly the problems that are happening within our justice system and within our prison system. You are seeing how there are these massive cracks and holes and people are just not being denied what should be their rights as a human being here in the United States, whether it be because they are a person of color, whether it be because they're poor, whether it be because they don't have the education to properly articulate themselves to authorities or to lawyers. You have lawyers who are working in the system who just care only about the money or the fame or whatever. You have police officers who are put under pressure to solve cases in a certain amount of time, and so they end up just trying to gather whatever evidence they can to close a case as opposed to getting the right answer. There are all of these just different pieces of the puzzle that all go against what you think the justice system should be. And it isn't necessarily the fault of like a single person. Like, it's not just a police officer who's doing something wrong, and it's not just like a single judge who's doing something wrong. It's sort of like all of these confounding factors that just don't work, and it makes the system not work. And Bryan Stevenson, as well as his organization, is working really hard to try to reverse some of that. I think one thing that Bryan Stevenson does in this book that's really important is he gives faces to the names and the stories that are happening. A lot of times you just think about prisoners as sort of these faceless people who don't have any part of them that's really human. So he humanizes them. He provides background into their situation, how they ended up where they are. And he explains how the system has failed these people, whether it be before they were in prison or while they were in prison. You feel frustration as a reader because you read some of this and you're just like, how is this possible in like 2000 and whatever, 15, 16, 14, whenever these cases were happening? How is it possible that in this modern age that it still feels like we're in like the early 1900s where people are blatantly racist and believing that black people are just capable of committing these crimes and so it had to have been them who did it, or that they aren't worthy of a proper trial or anything like that? It's just so frustrating sometimes, but Bryan Stevenson also does a really great job of providing hope in the middle of all of this. He talks about things like mercy and how necessary that is, not just for prisoners, but the way that we as humans show mercy to each other. He talks about the complexities of this system and of this world and of the people that we interact with. It's not always these people are good and these people are bad. People make mistakes, but sometimes they need to be forgiven of those mistakes. So Bryan Stevenson talks a lot about how, you know, the people that he's defending, they're not always like 100% innocent. They make mistakes. Walter McMillan himself is talked about having an affair with someone. So he's not a perfect person, but he didn't, you know, do the crime that he was convicted of. So in the midst of all of these stories, like, this book sounds like it would be a book that would be really heavy, but Bryan Stevenson brings this light into these stories, talking about how him and the other lawyers who are working in this initiative are working to make changes and are working to make it so that it's not as common to find innocent people on death row. This book is just so good. I'm so glad that I read it. Thanks to Jenny for pushing me forever to read this book, because I feel like this is a book that everyone needs to read, especially if you live in the United States. I think that everyone sort of knows that the prison system doesn't work well, but I don't think people also realize how bad it really can be. So I think that this is a really great perspective into that. So yeah, those are just my quick thoughts on Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. That's also being made into a movie with Michael B. Jordan, which I am so excited about. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It would probably be more like a 4.5. I've been debating about knocking it up to a 5 because really it was a great book, and I really wish there was a way for me to get everyone to read this book. Like, this is one of those books that I think would really change a lot of people's hearts on the idea of the death penalty, and I wish that there was more discussion around that. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you've read this book or if you have any questions about the book. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.